Fourth Perek, Daf Lamed Vav Amud Aleph. Shor Shenagach Arba'a V'Hamisha Shvarim Ze Achar Ze. If an ox gores 4 or 5 oxen, one after another, and remains a tam, the reason why it remains a tam, even though he did it more than 3 times, is because Rashi explains that it did it in sporadically / irregularly, meaning it didn't go over to these 4 or 5 in a row and start goring. It went on a random rampage, goring some, skipping some, then goring more, and then skipping, and then goring. If it was 3 consecutive animals, that makes it a muad immediately. Over here, however, it did 4 or 5 sporadically. Yishalem la'aharon shebehem. You have to pay the last of the owner of the last ox, the chatzi nezek, for the animal that was gored. Yani he gets paid first. We'll explain why. There's more value of the animal left after he pays that. It goes to the one before that one. Yani, so if he did number 5 first, he paid number 5 first, he has to pay number 4 now. Additionally, right? Right? So if there's any more, it goes to number 3, then 2, then 1, etc. That's Rameir. Right? If a tam ox worth $200, gored an ox worth $200, and then the body is worth nothing, like we had before. The first one takes $100, and the other one takes $100. Right? The owner of the animal takes the other $100 of his animal. And if it did again on the $200 animal, the last ox owner takes $100, and the one after that, the first one, he splits it with him. So the owner of the goring ox takes 50, and the first victim's ox takes 50. If the ox again gored another ox worth 200, the last ox takes 100. The second one takes 50. And the first two each get 25 each. Right? So you're basically splitting it in half, and then splitting it in half, and then splitting it in half, no matter how many people you have. All right, so we're going to go explaining what's flowing. Who's the first part of the Mishnah according to? Not according to Ishmael, not according to Akiva. Why? If it's according to Ishmael, who says that the victims are chovot of the owner, which meaning that when the animal gores someone else's item, that guy is owed money. The last one shouldn't be getting paid first. The first one should be getting paid first because he's the first creditor. He's owed the debt first. According to Kiva, also doesn't work. Who said that if your animal gets gored, you become quote unquote a partnership with the owner of the goring animal. The Gemara says if there's more than half payment remaining left, we should go to the one from before, like number 4. The kulami ba'ale. But you can't just leave it over for one guy. It has to go according to everybody. Right? If your partnership with all these people, you should be having to have to do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All of them splitting it. If your partnership. Whereas Maravad, really, it's according to Ishmael who says that you are considered a creditor. It's like a debt. With the Kashananach and one second. And according to the opinion that holds, that like Rabbi Ishmael, that you said you're considered a debt. And the question that we said, how come if it's a debt, it goes last to first, it should go first to last in order of the quote unquote debt. Is referring to where each victim had grabbed the animal. And therefore he's as if he's a paid watcher over the item for further damage. Right? So since he grabbed it, the victim is now responsible for the damage to somebody else. Since he failed, right? Since he got hit, he's like, oh, I'm taking your animal and I'm watching it, and now I'm not letting go till I get paid. But then what happens? It gets stolen, and it runs out again and damages someone else. Because you let it damage again, you're forfeiting your right to get paid first. and therefore 2, 3, 4, 5, number 5 gets paid first. If that's the case, but if that's the case, that the lashon of the Mishnah that says that if it's extra, it goes to number 4, and then 3, then 2, then 1. That's the wrong lashon. It should say that it goes to the owner, because if they forfeited it, why are they getting paid at all? If there's more damages, meaning if there's more the damage is owed to the final victim, that excess is being debted to, or being responsible, that responsibility, that debt goes to the guy before who didn't watch it correctly. Right? So it's referring to if he owes another $100 and couldn't pay it off with the animal, he doesn't go to the owner of the damaging ox, he goes over to number 4 who let him damage. And then etc. etc. It's referring to the case like we just said, that it's a case where the guy grabbed it and he didn't watch it correctly, he was negligent, and therefore he's chayav. How do you explain the Mishnah? If you say that the first part is Rabbi Shmuel, when you're talking about the case that it's considered a chov, a debt, and you said that when you have this debt and you have this animal, you watched it and you let it go, you try to grab it and let it go and it damaged again. But then the second part of the Braita says, the Mishnah says, right? According to Rabbi Shimon, if an ox worth $200 gored, another ox 200, and if like boom, and the carcass worth nothing, you each take $100. And then if it hit another ox, so ox number 2 gets hit, the second guy gets $100. And the first guy, he takes 50, and the owner of the ox takes 50. If he hits a $200 ox, and again, number 3 takes 100, and the number 2 takes 50. And the owner of the ox and the first victim each get $25. The fact that they're splitting it evenly, or semi-evenly, or splitting it proportionally, that seems like according to the Rabbi Akiva, who calls it your partnership, right? If you tell me that it has to do with watching and debts and everything, it doesn't fit with the second part of the Mishnah, right? So was it the first part? Rabbi Ishmael, the Sefer Rabbi Akiva, is the first case of Rabbi Meir according to Rabbi Ishmael, and the second case according to Rabbi Shimon. Right? We don't love doing that. Sometimes we say no, can't be. But over here is one of the few times that we say Amri in. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, straight up. The Ha Amar Le Shmuel Rabbi Yehuda, because Rabbi Shmuel one time told Rabbi Yehuda, Shinin, sharp one. Right, we've had this many times already in our journey through Shas. It's a phrase, sharp one. You're calling him, he's a very bright guy. He says, Shavok matatim v'tabatrai. Leave the Mishnah alone and come after me. Yani, stop worrying about it. That's how the Mishnah was formulated. The first part is Rabbi Ishmael, and the second part is Rabbi Akiva. Over here, if I could just put my 2 cents in, over here it's a little different than most times we ask that question, because sometimes the Mishnah will say one halacha and then another halacha, and it says, oh, can the first part be one rabbi and the second part be another rabbi? And they don't love it. Over here, it's easier to do it, in my opinion, because it's 2 different opinions. Meaning, the first case is Rabbi Meir, the second case is Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Meir could be saying halacha according to Rabbi Ishmael, and Rabbi Shimon can be saying halacha according to Rabbi Akiva. That's why, in my opinion, it's easier to say it in this case versus other times we say, no, it can't be 2 different rabbis in the same Mishnah, because it doesn't specify rabbis. But over here, where it had 2 different rabbis saying halacha, it's much easier to split it up. We have another proof according to that dia. There's a difference. Did I skip? No. There's the difference between Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Shimon is if a case where the victim made the ox hekdesh. According to the Meir, it's not considered hekdesh because you're not a partner. Like he calls it Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Akiva. According to Rabbi Shimon, it is chetzi hekdesh because it's a debt. Sorry, he's not a partner, and therefore he's according to the first case is according to Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Meir, it does not work because it's considered a debt and you have no right to make it a hekdesh. And the second opinion holds that it's like Rabbi Akiva, which is a partner, and you can't make it hekdesh. Okay, right? So the fact that you can explain it in the case of hekdesh shows that that's the machloket between the 2, the first and second parts, Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Akiva. Nice. Someone who makes a loud sound by someone else's ear. Doesn't mean he actually hit his ear, but he blew a horn or he's made a loud sound smacked by his ear. And noten lo sela, he has to give him besides for the damages that he may have, he has to give him different additional damage for busha, for humiliation. It's a sela, one coin, certain type of coin. Sometimes, like we said, oh, you have to pay embarrassment damages. A lot of times we don't know what it is. But certain things were specified in the Gemara that there's a set price. You do this, you're paying X. Okay. We believe we had it in the beginning of Masechet as well. Okay. Rabbi Omer, Mishum Rabbi said, really, maneh has to pay maneh. Right, so a selah is considered 4 dinar, and a maneh is 100 dinar. So it's like 25 times more what the other rabbis said. How got the one person who did a loud sound next to his friend's ear. When the Mishnah said a selah, does that mean a selah tzuri, a Tyrian, a certain type of selah, which is 4 zuzim, or selah medinatnan? Or does it mean the medina, the current selah coin, right? It's a local coin. Like when it says one coin, can it be $1, or can it be the certain coin that is more biblical in nature? There's a set price. 1 second more. Amalei says to him, "Can you do a Mishnah? Ushnaim harishonim dinar." Right, in the case where the guy who was in our case, the last ox, the first guy, the last guy takes a maneh and takes 50 and 25, right? And the last two split it 25 each, which is a dinar of gold, which is 25 zuz. So if you tell me that the selah means a medina, niflog v'nitni atresa v'selah. It should be split up not 25 zuz, which is a 1 dinar. It should be split 12 dinar and a certain type of selah, which is 12 and a half dinarim, right? Because it's split by another quarter. So therefore, it shouldn't be 25 each; it should be 12 and a half each. Amarle, that's the proof that it's referring to selah tzuri. So we try to prove right now that it has to be selah tzuri and not selah medina. Amarle, Rav Yosef's answer gets knocked off. He answers him, Tana kiruch la litni v'lezer, right? The Mishnah can't start being a rochel, a peddler, and starting to explain every single little thing, right? We like keeping our Mishnah short and sweet, right? Technically, maybe the Mishnah would have mentioned that, or Mishnah does mean that you pay according to your province, Medina, versus local price versus the Syrian, but we don't want to explain it and having to detail each type of scenario. They answered it via this rabbi. Whenever the Torah specifies an amount, is referring to Tyrian currency, Suri currency. Whenever the Chachamim give it to us, like our case, it's Medina, local currency. Right, so therefore, according to Mishnah, has to be Selah Medina, local currency. Amar Le'ahu Gavra, the one-time story. Right, so this story, same story. This guy told Yosef, since my payment's only a half a zuz, which is the Selah Medina, lo ba'ina. I don't want it. It's too little for me. All right, imagine you go to court and you're very upset about something happening, and it says you are able to walk out of here with 75 cents. You look at the judge and you're like, pass. I'd rather go home. He said, just give it to the poor guy. Afterward, he said, you know what? I'll take it. And I'll go by myself and refresh myself. I'll buy something myself with it. I told him, sorry. Once you told that it goes to the ani, they already got it. And even there's no poor people here that acquired it. Me, Rav Yosef was in charge of the aniyim, the poor people fund, and therefore orphans they don't need a prusbul, right? We said that by shemitah the loans get knocked out, but yitomim don't need it because bedin is in charge of it. Orphans not need prusbul. Rabban Gamliel in his court were in charge of the orphans, and so too debts as well for poor people. Same concept is that money that was going to poor people had to go through the rabbis, and therefore, even though he didn't give it to Na'ani, but because he gave it back to the rabbi and said, give it to a poor person, he acquired it for the poor person because he's a poor person fund. Right? So if you're giving poor people money on Purim, Matan Levinim, and you give it to Belzeri, who's the poor people fund, he collects money for them, then you don't have to give it to Nani. He's once you give it to him and he's handing it over, it's already done. Okay. Another case. Hanan Bisha the Kalilahu Gavra, the Hanan, the bad guy, the wicked guy. You have to be a pretty bad guy if you're called the wicked Hanan. So he hurt someone's ear. He said, go give the guy a half a zuz. Have a little zuzah maka, but he only had a in his possession in his okay, so let's say it was $10, right? So he only had a $5 bill on him, and it was rubbed out or out of or it wasn't in good condition. And he wanted to give it to him. Lo have a mishta, but he wasn't able to exchange it because it was worn out. Right? So he wanted to give it. He owed $5, but he had a $10 bill, but the $10 bill was worn out and he couldn't get change. So what did he do? Takala Achrina hit the guy again. And he said, here's your $10. Let's stop here.